Hi guys, Michael Newrock here. Thanks for joining me on this video analysis of August 22, 2017. This is as a result of a few gremlins in the webinar last night. I apologize for that. I've put it through to the chat room whether they'd like to see daily market analysis instead of weekly webinars, and the overwhelming response has been positive. So I'm going to give that a go and see how we go this week. We'll set up a ask me place where you can leave questions either in the chat room, by email, support ticket, live chat, or leave a message on live chat, and we'll set it up on Facebook and Twitter ultimately as well. So I think it'll work well as far as its interactivity, and the video and audio will be a lot better. And in trading, an hour, 4 hours a day is an eternity. So there's nice as it is to have a webinar on a weekly basis, it makes it less reliable. So without any further, I'm just going to get straight into it. Now, I'm going to go through a bunch of charts, and we'll focus on different charts on different days, but depending on time, how time goes. But I'll try to run through these as quickly as possible, so you can have a summary of what's going on in my head on a trading basis. So let's have a look. Gold. We're on the 4-hour time frame. It's currently conservative upward trend trade. It has moved up quite a bit already. So, if you had caught any of these prior long trades as a buy in gold, then you would have done very well, hopefully. So at the moment, it has moved up a lot. There could be an opportunity for a swing, and that's how I would play it at this stage, but only if the risk reward is good. For example, if a swing occurred a little bit on from here, around here, and it only had about 300, 400 pips on the stop, then placing it below the slow moving average, maybe as low as I'll say 300, but the recent high is just over 900 pips. So 1 to 3 reward there. The move has already happened, but it may continue. So if we just start over to the daily, we can see it's in a fully fledged daily uptrend, and has been for about a month and a half. And on the weekly, we can see that a new trend trade with this crossover, yellow or gold moving average crossing over the gray moving average, or fast over the slow, shows that we could be in for a new upward move. And that's not completely surprising with what's happening in the world today on a number of different issues. But then also, if you look at Bitcoin, it's soared in the last couple of weeks from a amazing high of 2,000 to doubling that now to around 4,000, and almost being like acting as a digital safe haven almost. But we shall see how that story pans out. But my point is that there could definitely be further moves in gold. Of course, we have a spike and then a move down and a crossover on the moving averages with a new setup to the downside. Then all bets are off. That goes to say that is exactly the same for all of these charts that I'm running through. You always need to go with the market. So your loyalty should be to the market and nothing else. If it's right now, it's pointing up. So that's the way that I would be looking to go, but only with a decent move. And we may be getting at that. You can see over here it had really gone high already. If you'd got in on either of these two, you would have been okay even. And so that's what I would be looking for right now. Okay, Euro. Euro has been going up. It's in an overall conservative upward trend. I'm not crazy about this resistance here. So, you know, if you had gotten at this trend trade, that's about 80 pips, and here on the swing even, you'd be around 40, 45 pips up. But now, not such a not such a good possibility for a decent result. So I would be sitting back on this for potentially another correction and look to go long as it stays in a conservative upward move. If it's bidirectional, then you need to reassess because we could be looking at the possibility of a short trade on the euro. But for now, it's looking long. Okay, pound. This is one that I like the look of because it's been flowing really nicely upward and then downward, and this is the first time that we've had an upward uh, alert, and the risk reward is fantastic. If you'd got in on this alert, then your risk is only about 20 pips if you wanted to give it a bit more room to move, 25 or even 30 pips. But there's lots of room here, about 140 pips to this high, and ultimately about 370 pips to this high here. So and it's in an upward conservative move. So to me, it seems like a good opportunity to go long. On the daily, you can see that a counter move has occurred to this downward trend move, and it's been supported for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and that's up. If you look back to say March, it's been going overall up. So even though it's in a downward trend trade on the weekly, it's in an upward daily swing. So, and then finally looking at the weekly, we can see here that it hasn't been moving up a lot, but it is nevertheless in an upward move. MACD is still above the 0 line, RSI is above the 50. Last week looked like it went through this fall and perhaps supported by this slow-moving average. So it wouldn't surprise me if this trade of if this pair saw some decent upward moves, and for to date, I would say that would be the trade of the moment. Let's see what else there is, but particularly because of the market condition and the tiny risk for the potentially very large reward. So Euro-pound's been going up. That's been buoying the euro, and if it went down, then if we saw a correction on this, this would help the pound long trade. Looking on the pound Swiss, so just coming back to the euro, it's in an upward overall move, so I would be looking for corrections. It's obviously way too high. Hopefully it's obvious to you. Just looking at it on the chart, it's really up there. If we go to the daily, we can see it's been moving upward, so I wouldn't be betting against this move. It's been moving upward since early May, and then weekly it's been going upward as well. We're coming up to some highs which will act as resistance, but for sure there's maybe more room to move, but not necessarily at this stage. In my mind, would be best to wait for some kind of correction. I mean, any one of these, apart from this one, not so much. And well, there you go. This one as well would have failed, but all of these other ones would have done handsomely. All right, pound Swiss. It's already failed as far as the crossover goes. So I think there's more downward move in this. It has changed to bidirectional, but if it does move up, if we get the trend follower changed to green, and we get a move to the upside, then actually that would be viewed as an upward swing. Let's have a look. No, sorry. No, we're still under the zero line here and a way to go on the RSI. So I don't see a trade there, but I'm just referring back to this pound, which still has my interest, and so I'm looking for other pairs that may support it. For example, if the pound Swiss went up and or the euro pound went down, then that would help that pound trade. Okay, Aussie. It's in a conservative 4 out of 6 high time frames pointing up, and there could very well be more room to go. It hasn't been performing very well though, and uh, possibly, I mean, we are in an upward trend at this stage. So if you see a good swing after a correction, that may be your opportunity to go long on this. However, if there's a crossover, because it does look not very confident, then I would be looking, especially once it changes to bidirectional, I would be a lot more cautious about going long on this trade. On the daily chart, it's already failed as far as the short, so we may be going for a double top. We've got about 120 pips to the high, so another move today, and it could be forming a new daily upward trend. On the weekly, it's in a weekly upward trend, so all indicators at this stage and the higher time frames are pointing up. We'll see what happens, but it's not a trade that I would be looking at now unless there was some momentum and a correction on this. And I'm a bit nervous about this trade still falling rather than moving upward. Kiwi's not looking very strong either, even though it's an upward trend trade. None of these have really gone very well. It's still pointing up, but to me, it seems like it's almost getting exhausted. So I would be on the sidelines on that. Aussie Kiwi, very high at this stage after this upward move. So I don't see a trade for me in this pair either, as well because of my uncertainty with the Aussie and the Kiwi pegged against the US. Okay, dollar CAD, it did rise quite a bit, and then we saw some falls. This last swing would have been a nice one here. This trend trade here, you can see how it was too far. Just to come back to that Goldilocks filter, here when it closed, it was around 83 pips. For a dollar CAD, that's pretty big, and you can see by the length of the candle how big it is compared to, the average candle for this particular pair. So that also gives you a clue that maybe not the best one to go for. It would have succeeded, well, it did succeed in the end, but you would have had to have a big stop. So that's something that I would be against as well. And this is a great example as well to show you how after this correction to the upside, after this big fall, we then get a swing, and it was a beautiful one. Needed less pips, and it didn't really go against its position more than a few pips before collapsing. So if you got that one, congratulations. Now, as far as where do we go from here? Well, it is bidirectional, so it is kind of too close to call. If it, if you see a correction and then a downward swing, then maybe that could be a good move to the downside, and it's certainly got quite a bit more room to move, about 130 pips. But if it corrected to here and then swung down, a short is not an unreasonable position to take. If it crosses over again, then all bets are off. Or if you see it crossing over on the shorter time frames, like the 1 hour, then I wouldn't be looking at shorting it on the 4 hour. So this actually brings me to the point that this could provide an opportunity to the upside on a new 1 hour trend trade if that were to occur. So keep your eyes out on that one. There could be a good opportunity either way. Okay, dollar Swiss bidirectional as well. It's collapsing as far as this moving average crossover currently, and there's more risk to the downside. In other words, there's more likelihood that the move will go down at this stage. However, if we do get a spike down, sometimes you'll get a false break and then move back, finding, say, support around, here, where on this low we saw support achieved here. So there could be an opportunity for going long, is what I'm getting at. If we get a move to the downside and then a valid trend trade on, say, the 4 hour or maybe even the 1 hour, then this might be an opportunity to go long. Of course, if the risk reward is there as well as always. So moving along, I'm going to roll these up, and then, once we get going with these daily market analysis reviews, then we can summarize even more, because we're keeping in contact on a more regular basis, which is important for trading. So, okay, dollar yen, we saw the price being supported here. You can see, the low here at this point here was breached a couple of times here, but it's where the bar closes at the end of the day. So on every case of these three candles, the close was above this low. So it tells me that there may be a strong support at this point. There's no trade in it to the short side at this stage, unless you saw a nice correction and then a swing down. On the daily, it is definitely in the whole throes of an ongoing downward move. And on the weekly, you can see here that it's not very really clear on the weekly. Technically, it's to the downside on both trend and swing, but you can see here and here we've had support. So that tells me that just looking at the price here, that this pair, if it does move to the downside, watch out for support and a move back to the upside. That could be a good opportunity, but at this stage there's no trade in my mind unless we get a correction to the downside. If we see a full-on 4 hour trend trade to the upside, then it could be on. Let's say it closed up around here, 109.80. That's 60 pips from where we are now, or say 110 even. Now I'm just hypothesizing here, but if we had the slow moving average around here, about 50 pips for the stop, and so there's 100 pips to the upside, it's at least a 1 to 2 risk reward. So that's what I would be targeting for an upward move. And here you can see on the euro, we are looking close to getting a moving average crossover, so it kind of lends a little bit of support to the dollar yen potential opportunity. Just keep on assessing it if you are interested in that pair. So back to the euro yen, it's looking like a possibility to the upside. If we get a trend trade and trend follower changes to green, the RSI is already above the 50, the MACD is above the zero line, and the stochastic is already crossed over. So the euro is strong right now. If we had about 50, 60 pips to the stop, you've got about 120 pips, again, a 1 to 2. So make sure that you lock in some profits at that 1-to-1 level, or at least move it to break even. But that's what I would be looking for. Setting targets prior to this high, and then onward and upward up to this high, which potentially, let's say, closed around here. It's around 100 pips to the recent high, and 200 pips, just under 200 pips to uh, to the high prior to that. Okay, let's move on. Euro yen, good possible opportunity to the upside. Watch the euro though, because if it starts collapsing, then it's going to put a bit of a damper on a euro yen rally. Pound yen more flatter, but there could be opportunity. Watch the pound, see if that starts really taking off. Maybe a data event comes out, or whatever the reason is. I uh, almost stop looking for the reasons in the real world, but focus on the technicals, on the charts, which is where it's really happening. So if you see a move there on the pound, then we could see a pound yen move. Or if we see weakness in the yen for whatever reason, we could see these yen crosses all moving up, some better than others. At the moment, the euro yen is leading the pack, excuse me, between the three that we've seen. Aussie yen, if it's same like the euro or the pound. If we see the Aussie move, then there could be credence to the opportunity of going long. At this stage, there's more likelihood of that occurring than going short. Kiwi yen a little bit harder to tell on this one, but if the others do, then this one will follow suit. Possibly as well. CAD yen, similar, very almost crossing over. And that will mean that there'll be 4 out of 6 higher time frames turning green, making it an overall conservative upside move. Swiss yen, yeah, we've seen a lot of consolidation here. So, I think the market may be ready on these yen crosses to to make some decent moves. We've seen more consolidation, for example, in the Swiss yen compared to the euro yen. So I like the look of the euro yen the best, and that's the one that's coming up very shortly. Okay, euro Aussie, interesting. This is already in conservative upward territory, and the alerts occurred. Uh, I think this is a pretty decent trade. I like the idea that the daily and the weekly trends are upward, and yeah, this is almost this is a really nice looking trade, especially on the Euro Aussie. 40 pips to lock in your stop is very little on this particular pair, and you've got the opportunity of 150 to the high. Um, yeah, there's a couple of I do like this pair. Let's just have a quick look at the daily, and it's upward. If we get a move up, that MACD is going to change to green, the latest one. Okay, so that will mean that after this day is completed, we have the daily swing changing to green. So that would mean there would be 5 out of 6. Just delete these old buy signals. Okay, so upward move on the weekly, and again, if we get that move, it's not only going to change the daily swing to up, but it's going to change the weekly swing to up. At the end of the week, it'll be confirmed, but it's dynamic in nature, so it'll be changing to potentially to a royal flush, 6 out of 6 higher time frames green, and that's a really great position to be in. And the other thing that I like about this is you've seen a lot of movement to the upside leading up to this. We've had this correction now, so I'm excited about this particular pair. The euro is looking strong. The euro yen is looking like a possibility, and the euro Aussie now is looking like a pretty decent setup. Pound Aussie, it's behind. So in every pair that we've looked at, the pound is weaker than the euro right now. Of course, things could change to swap that whole thing around. But right now, we're only focusing on what we see, and what we see is the euro is stronger, or the euro Aussie is stronger than the pound Aussie. Euro Kiwi, another opportunity. So now I'm thinking, what's weaker, the Aussie or the Kiwi? And then if I'm going to be looking at either the Euro Aussie or the Euro Kiwi, I want to pick off the one that is paired, the euro that's paired against the weaker of the two, the Aussie or the Kiwi. So uh, yeah, it's a little hard to tell, but I think the Aussie is a little stronger at the moment. Yet I still really like this Euro Aussie trade. The Euro Kiwi is a bit more flatter to me, but again, it has really good risk reward, about 60 pips to the stop, and just on about 110 pips to this recent high, and this high retested this high and actually beat it. So 5 out of 6, this will probably change to 6 out of 6, just like the Euro Aussie that we were looking at. It's a little high still, and that's why I still like the Euro Aussie out of the two. Pound Kiwi, again, a little bit behind, so not focused on that right now. Aussie CAD, no trade there. It's looking a bit messy and consolidation for me. It's almost like static. There's no real clear direction for me. I wouldn't be trading down, even though it's saying 5 out of 6 are pointing down. I would personally like to see more of a correction and then a bit of a momentum and a nice sharp, trend downwards with a nice crossover, a nice looking crossover. Right here, it's just gone flat straight away, so no trade for me there. Kiwi CAD been going down for quite some time, and the system's been picking them obviously well. However, no trade for me on this one currently either. EuroCAD, interesting. Looking already that it's moving like a possible upward with this crossover. Not too surprising, because the euro that we've been looking at throughout the session has been, the stronger of the two. It's looking like it's already failing this. I'm not so interested in this one as I am in the others, also because they've already changed into a conservative upward move, where with our high time frames here, we're still looking downward. And pound CAD, no trade for me on this one either. So let's just summarize. Euro Aussie, nice one. Euro Kiwi, either of these look technically like the pick of them today at this particular time. Anything can change, and things do change, but I'm just going through these pairs with the trend profit system, as the basis for the technicals. Euro yen, we still need to see this trend follower change to green, but there's maybe another 1 or even 2 bars before it does cross over and confirmed if it looks strong. The euro yen has my interest as well. Dollar yen, not at this stage. Again, it's downward, but we'll see what happens. Maybe even on a 1 hour. Dollar Swiss, not there for me. Dollar CAD moving down, but watch for that support that I spoke of. Aussie, Kiwi. The Kiwi is the weaker of the two. So technically the Euro Kiwi would be the better one of the two. But looking at them, still, the Euro Aussie looks like the possibility there. It's a tricky one, but both of them look good. pound, again, weaker than the euro, but this is just so little risk for the potential reward. So, trading is speculation at the end of the day, and it's about being able to manage the risk and achieve the highest returns um, for that risk. And back to the euro, let's see how it goes. It's still looking like there could be some move upward. We're seeing it now conflicted almost with bidirectional. Daily trend has changed to bidirectional. You don't often see that on the trends, and in this case, you can see it's because it's just too close to call. The fast moving average and the slow moving average are too close to make a definition between up or down. However, if we do get a move to the upside, then we'll see that change back up to up, which it has been for since March. So, there's an expression in trading: don't stand in front of a freight train. And I would be not. I would be more likely to think that the euro will continue its strength, other than trying to pick the fall of it at this stage, even though, albeit being quite high, what we're looking at is not necessarily getting in on the euro, but other pairs um, which are showing strength of the Euro Aussie, the Euro Kiwi, and the Euro Yen. All right, guys, I made it through just with my voice, about 30 minutes. I'll keep them as quick, and bullet point as I can. Sometimes I may rattle on, but I hope you get value out of it, and let's see how we can make this an even better service with these regular reviews. Till next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.